Thank you, WBUR City Space, Boston. On behalf of WBUR City Space, I want to thank you for coming to WBUR City Space. If you like what you see, please share on social media at WBUR City Space, hashtag WBUR City Space. The full events lineup is at wbur.org/cityspace. And if you want to stay in the loop on upcoming events, please sign up for the WBUR City Space newsletter at the kiosk in the lobby and ask the staff for more details. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Cerise Jacobs, and I'm very lucky to be on the WBUR City Space stage today, though I'm not part of WBUR's staff. I am the founder and president of Whitesnake Projects, an activist opera company. See? It's in writing, so it's official. And the words activist and opera are very seldom used together because one might consider them to be a contradiction in terms. But they're really not, because opera is such a powerful tool to enable us to focus, refine, and heighten emotions and issues and illuminate what is happening in our world today. And that's the mission of Whitesnake Projects. We produce one original opera a year, which is socially relevant. And out of that socially relevant theme, we build community events. So, if you look at your packet of materials, this postcard here, do not discard it. Okay, it is the postcard for our 2019 opera, which is going to premiere. It's a world premiere on September 20, 21, and 22 at the Paramount Theater. And it is called I Am a Dreamer Who No Longer Dreams. I think it's obvious from the title what it's about. It's about dreamers and the state of immigration policy in the United States and how disillusioning and difficult it is for immigrants and non-immigrants alike. So I hope you all will come to that. I know that if you enjoyed today and you came today, you have to come to our main stage show. So this is the third show in our community that we do. It is after this, what we do, which is really revolutionary, is that we are going to take the creativity of the composers, because what Sing Out Strong is local immigrant composers and writers. We put out a call, we pair them to make immigrant songs, taking the theme of our main stage opera, I'm a Dreamer Who No Longer Dreams. And these songs are the songs you're going to hear today. And then when you come to the opera, we're going to take 3 to 4 of these songs and make it the prologue to the main stage opera, so that people who missed out on the community concerts have an opportunity to see how creative our community really is. So, without more ado, I'd like to move on to our artists. Our music partner is Juvante's New Music Ensemble. Oliver Kaplan is the artistic director, and he's here today in the audience. Our producer is Wanda Strukas, and she may or may not be in the room. And our arts administrator just walked in, Samantha Dotterweig. And our singers are, I'm going to introduce them. They're going to just stand to be acknowledged. Our soprano is Brianna Robinson. Our mezzo is Vera Savage. Min Jin Chung is on cello. And Julia Scott Carey is on keyboard. I know there are some of our composers and writers in the audience, so after your song has been performed, it would be great if you could come on up and take a little bow to be acknowledged for the amazing artistry that you have contributed. Okay, so in your package as well are the lyrics of these new songs. So what you're hearing are new songs that have just been commissioned and written by local writers. Many of them are not professional writers. In fact, most of them are not. They are people just like you and me who have been inspired to write about their lives as immigrants. And we're going to start with the first set of 3 songs. And I grouped them together because all the texts in these songs are written by students at a very special high school. That's the Boston International High School. And that high school is dedicated to servicing new immigrant families. So they just come to America. Some of them may or may not even have any English. And they go to this special high school and get the support they need to learn English and also to be able to pass the SATs and graduate and all that kind of stuff. And what we did was Tony Jackson and Richie Wheelock, who are here, will you stand and be acknowledged? They're the brains behind this whole thing. They got their students together. I went and visited with them, and we essentially wrote and edited text that they had written to turn them into song lyrics. So you're going to hear 3 songs. The first one is Life of Honor. The text is by Ruth Perez. Ruth is from Cape Verde, and she writes about the role model in her life, her grandmother. And the composer, Shuing Li, is from China, who now lives in Boston. And the other 2 songs are Now That Love Is Extinguished. The writer is Jonathan Figuero, and he writes about yearning for love the way only a high school boy can. And the second text is by Abuelita, by Melody Maduro. She's from the Dominican Republic, and she also writes about the inspiration in her life, her grandmother. Jonathan is from Guatemala, and the composer is also a high school student. He's first-generation Asian American, and his name is Avik Sarkar. So let us... I'm going to invite our musicians up. And this will be the first 3 songs.
Streets of Cape Verde. She was 46 when she went to school. Vovo helped me decide to move to America, to leave my family. The bright brightness of my beautiful, colorful country, and the smell of the fantastic Jagachida and Jacuba coming from our kitchen chimney. Nanita, my grandchild, each stone you meet on your way, take it with you. At the end you will build a castle with the stones you carried on your back. Nanita, my grandchild, each stone you meet on your way, take it with you. At the end you will build a castle with the stones you carried on your back. Now that love is extinguished, because there was no trust in me, all I want is someone who accepts me. With a hug that makes me feel like a Superman overcoming all obstacles. And if I do not find that someone, I hope that someone finds me. In this new country I now call home. I remember when we went to church, I made up red in your hair, a soft mix of grey and white, with conasai pinned into it. I remember. my grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
He wrote it.
Now, our next song is called Alice 2, and we all know Alice 1, the iconic Alice Island, which used to be the gateway into America. Now it's a museum, which stands as a tribute to America's long history as a country welcoming of immigrants. And, when we started work on Sing Out Strong and on I'm a Dreamer Who No Longer Dreams, our main stage opera, we did that as a response to President Trump's revocation of DACA. And we never thought that things could get worse, but they have. And that's why we do these community events and we have these new commissions and music in order that we can have a healing space where we can think on what our backgrounds and heritages are and where we come from. So Alice 2 is the story of new immigrants and how they come no longer to Ellis Island, but all different points of entry into the United States, what they leave behind, and what little they can take with them.
They carried boxes and Bibles, blue barrels of sadness, and pins and buttons. They carried bedspreads and pillows, and bagels and barrels of pickles, and the Book of Common Prayer. They carried voids and maps. They carried comforters, candlesticks, and crucifixes. They carried goose feathers, rolling pins, vowels, and consonants. We carried our children. painted Easter eggs, luminous, dark duende, a honeymoon dress and sewing machines. They carry accordions and fears and spices and mangled gourds and donkey shoes for luck and tears and intersections. Distance from what they love the most. They carry the grief into 100 folds of grief. They carry the hopes into 100 folds of
The writer is Eva Crushell and the composer Kate Perkinses. Please come and take a bow. And Eva is from Poland and Kate is first generation Latvian. So the next series of songs are also written by students, but students with a difference, because these are English as a second language, or ESL students, and they're from the International Learning Center. And Mark Correa and Karen Oakley from the ILC are here. Will you stand and be acknowledged? Again, we could not have done this without their help and support. And it's very interesting because these students, when they wrote their texts, none of them felt that they were good enough to be submitted as songs. And of course, when we finally got them to submit them, they were wonderful vignettes of everyday life, of the kinds of things that we all worry about, how to get to work, working too hard. And of course, a lot of it too is about English, because just imagine trying to navigate the world where everything is in English, and the first word of English you heard was when you came to America. So these three songs, the first one you're going to hear is called Life Changes, and the author is Joel Lewis, and the composer is Jorge Sosa. Joel recounts how different his life is in America compared to what it was in Haiti. And the composer Jorge Sosa also is the composer for I Am a Dreamer Who No Longer Dreams, and he's Mexican-American. And that's followed by 3 English songs, and that's because these students are writing about what it's like to learn English or to navigate this world without English. And they are Daniela Sanchez, Fiorella Valle, Hui Ching Shao, and the composer is George Lam, who was originally from Hong Kong. So, Vera?
This poem was written by Joel Lewis, a Haitian man. This is his story. These are his words. When I was in Haiti, I got a high school diploma, a certificate in construction and electricity. I got a job at to work on time. Monday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday, from Monday through Sunday, from morning to night, from morning to night. Sanchez. I tried to find a job in this country without any English. People looked at me as if I came from Mars. I went to a fast food store. The manager told me I could start in the kitchen. He spoke to me with a little Spanish he learned from his employee of the month. Fiorella Valle. I was so happy I could take the cosmetology exam in Spanish. I worked at Edgardo's salon, but couldn't pay all the bills, so I worked part-time as a janitor in Santander's office. Now that I have more clients in the salon, I quit my janitor job. Sometimes I feel sad and nervous. I can't understand clients who speak only English. Some people told me, go to school. Wei Ching Shao. When I first worked as a waitress, I didn't speak English. I only understand the menus. Now I can understand English. Some of my old customers taught me English.
We're still on the topic of English. I'm very lucky because I'm an immigrant, but I'm from Singapore, and one of the 4 national languages of Singapore is English. And I went to a Methodist missionary school, so I learned Methodist English. So I'm sure those of you for whom English is a second language have all experienced this, and those of you who go abroad to Africa or to France or a country where people speak a different language have also experienced this. Somehow people think that when you don't understand what they're saying, all they need to do is speak a little louder. Right? Speak a little louder, maybe even shout at you, because of course somehow that will penetrate your brain and you will then be able to understand this foreign language that they're speaking. And sometimes they think, okay, well, maybe if I also did sign language, like very wide arm gestures, that would help too. So this is a song about that phenomena. It's called I Can't Understand a Word You're Saying. The writer is Helen Huang, who's also the soprano in I Am a Dreamer Who No Longer Dreams. She's originally from China, and she writes about her first experience in school. The composer is Michelle Cheng, and she's a first-generation Asian American as well. Brianna?
12 years old, 3 days from China. First day at Pocahontas Middle School. Homeroom teacher shows me my locker. Blah, 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 blah. What is this? Blah, 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 blah. I can't understand a word you're saying. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Class time. Chorus time. I'll be good at this, I know. I started singing and playing the piano at 3.
Blah, 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 blah.
What is this?
Blah, 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 blah.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Reading, science, math. I can't understand a word you're saying. You're swinging your arms. Shall I swing my arms too? You're trying to tell me something with your arms? I can't understand a word you're saying. Can't understand, don't understand, I will never understand! Lunchtime, the worst time. Got my food, tried to find a place to sit down. I sat silently alone and taste my tasteless food. My classmates laughed and chatted. Laughed and chatted. Laughed and chatted.
Presenting is called A Spoonful of Hate. And the text is written by the ubiquitous Jorge Sosa, who's not just a great composer, but he's also a poet. And this song is about his response to what's happening in our world today. It's a riff on a spoonful of sugar. Right now, our world is not a spoonful of sugar. And it's a very moving account of how easy it is to be seduced by hate. One can be drowned by messages of hate and fake news, and it is something that we all need to resist. The composer is Marina Lopez, who's also from Mexico.
Let me feed you. Let me feed you. Let me feed you a spoonful. You look thirsty. You look hungry. let me feed you. Let me feed you a spoonful. It's a spoonful of hate, of hate, of hate, 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 hate. You're thirsty. You look thirsty. You look thirsty. Let me quench your thirst with a fresh drink of fear. Every day, every day. You look sweet, you look thirsty, you look cold, you look thirsty, you look hungry, swathe you in a shroud of fear, cold night, spoonful of hate, 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 you look sweet. How will you sleep in the cold night? Let me swathe you in a shroud of ignorance to comfort you. Listen to the song of the siren. Listen to those lungs wait out. Let yourself get lost in its sweet embrace as it drowns you. As he drowned you. As he drowned you. As he drowned you. As he drowns you. As he drowns you. As he drowns you.
That always just hits me between the eyes. Our next song is called Tracing Connections. And it is a song by Heloísa Barbosa, the writer who comes from Brazil. And she writes about what it was like to arrive in America and about the process of transformation that every immigrant faces as we try to remake ourselves to fit into our new country. You know, trying to take in the best, to change and assimilate, and yet to retain some part of our old self and our heritage. And the composer is Anais Azul, and she is a first-generation Peruvian.
I remember Logan Airport in 1994. Its corridors like an elongated centipede. who I was and who I am today. I remember my first snow. I opened my mouth and let it melt inside me. I too was transforming into something else. I remember too many things. I remember how many doors have opened, how many more have closed. So I am tracing connections between who I was and who I am today. Yes, I am tracing connections between who I was and who I am today. On May 14th, 2018, I stood with 187 other immigrants from 57 countries to be naturalized as U.S. citizens. The journey had been long. Looking around me, I remembered that it was in Boston that I first tasted food from Afghanistan, Armenia, Barbados, Bolivia, Cape Verde, Cambodia, Guatemala, Greece, India, Ireland, Jamaica, Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, Russia, Spain, Tibet, Vietnam. There I remember that there is no life that is not constructed inside a system of constant interconnections and differences. Viruses, bacteria, cells, animals, us all, we are all connecting. Transformation is a migration within. Still I am tracing connections between who I was and who I am today. Yes, I am tracing connections between who I was and who I am today. Between who I was and who I am today. Between who I was and who I am today.
The last song in the concert portion of this program before we move to our panel of experts is called The Big Deception. And this is a very personal song to me because it involves Yvette Sousa, who I have known for 27 years. And Yvette Sousa and her mother, Irene da Silva, were from Brazil. They're now in America. But when Irene was told by our government, by Homeland Security, that she had been approved for a green card, all she had to do was go back to Rio, have an interview with the American consulate for the card to issue. So she did. She left America, she went to Rio, and she was told by the embassy that because she had overstayed her visitor's visa, she was banned from the United States for 10 years. And at this time, she was 79 years old, and she had not a single family member left in Brazil. Everyone was in the United States. And so, The Big Deception is a song about what happened to Irene and Yvette and how they endured the 10 years And I'm happy to say, and we always have to celebrate every victory, that she came to the United States at the age of 89, and she has just celebrated her 90th birthday. So the composer is Oliver Kaplan, whom I've introduced to you before.
The letter said, "You are proud for your green card. Go back to Rio for your interview and get your green card, your green card." I bought my mother a round-trip ticket to Rio and back to Boston. I put her on the plane to Brazil, to get her green card. The letter said, "You are approved, you are approved, you are approved for your green card. Go back to Rio for your interview and get your green card, your green card." The American embassy man in Rio said, "You overstayed your visitor's visa. You can't go back to America for 10 years." But she was approved for a green card. We didn't know she had to renew her visitor's visa. But the letter said I was to come get my green card. I'm 79. My family is in America. America. How will I survive by myself? We believed. We don't care about you. We believed. I waited it out year after year. I sent money every morning. I was over. Sometimes the temperatures reached over 100 degrees. Sometimes we had no running water. I gave up hope, children of their own who grew up never knowing their great grandmother Elisa. I told my neighbors, don't tell my daughter I'm sick. I gave her an iPad. Sick with grief. I FaceTimed her every sick for the baby night. Smell of grandchildren I've never met. When I die, call my daughter, ask her for money. Don't give her. She returned to America when she was 89 years old. My name is Yvette Sousa. My name is Irene da Silva. I hope to make up for lost time, lost time. We are survivors. We are survivors. We are survivors. We are survivors.
Thank you to our great artists and musicians. And if you wait just a few minutes, we'll transition into our panel on immigration with our expert panelists. And I do want to tell you that Sing Out Strong is this year is the inaugural year. And we plan a series every year of Sing Out Strong, which will take the theme of whatever our main stage opera is. So this year it's I'm a Dreamer, so the theme is immigration, Sing Out Strong, Immigrant Voices. Next year is the 400th anniversary of the landing at Plymouth Rock by the Pilgrims. Our opera, I know it doesn't sound related, but it is called Cosmic Cowboy. And you have to come see it and you'll see the relationship. And the theme in the opera is colonization, past, present, and future, as we now plan to colonize Mars. And so Our Sing Out Strong in 2020 is going to be Sing Out Strong Decolonized Voices, because we have to break off the shackles of colonization. I myself am a product of colonization, having grown up under the British Empire. So what I'm trying to say is, if you believe that this kind of programming is important, we offer it free to our community, but we have to sustain it over many, many years. And so if you look at your program, on the last page there is where the triangle is. My program is back down there. You will see that there is a place where you can support programming like this and support Whitesnake projects. And I really ask for you to do that, so that next year we can stand here again and present a new series of songs for you, which we will commission with composers and writers from our community. And of course, another way you can support us is by coming to our operas, our main stage production. Again, it's right here. And if you were moved by the music today, I guarantee you will be moved when you come in September. So I want to thank you all again, and I want to introduce to you Shannon Dooling, who is our moderator for the panel. And Shannon is a reporter and the representative of WBUR, the New England News Collective. And she's also a reporter on immigration, among other things, and a producer of WBUR's Morning Edition. Shannon?
Your introduction. Okay, this is on. Great. I really encourage everyone to stay, everyone who's filtering out, but I understand it's a beautiful evening. I hope everyone enjoyed that gorgeous, haunting, inspiring music. I had a really long day at work today and found myself almost crying over there in the corner. And I think that that's what's beautiful about music. It's just this universal language. Everyone's sitting, so I'm going to sit down now. But welcome. Thank you for being here at WBUR City Space this evening. We are really fortunate to have this group of panelists with us this evening. I'm going to give a brief introduction and then just dive right into a couple of questions. And at the end, we will have time for some questions from you all. So what I'm going to encourage you to do first off is take your phones out. I know you all have them. Put them on silent and go to slido.com, SLIDO. If you've been to some of these events at City Space before, then you should be a pro at this. But throughout the conversation, you can sign in, slido.com, use the code that's up there. I think it's SS as in Sing Strong and the date, 8/22. Sign in for that event, and you can just register your questions as you go along, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. So my name is Shannon Dooling. I'm an immigration reporter here at WBUR. Obviously very busy these days with this beat, and I'm really pleased to be with you all this evening. I'm pleased to introduce to you immediately to my left, we have Denzel Mohammed. Denzel is the director of public education of the Public Education Institute for the Immigrant Learning Center. So welcome, Denzel. Thank you for being here. To Denzel's right, we have Sabrina Ardelin. Sabrina is the assistant director at Harvard's Immigrant and Refugee Clinic. Thank you for being with us, Sabrina. And at the end of the oh, hello. I've met all of these people on the phone call, so it's nice to see everyone in person. We have Sabato Visconti, who is a visual artist and also a DACA recipient. And so we're going to talk a little bit about his award-winning visual art. So I'm going to get started actually, Sabato, with you, if that's okay. So your mics should be on. Everyone on?
Oh, it's working.
All right, we're good. Okay. So I mentioned award-winning visual artist, multimedia visual artist, and DACA recipient. I'm curious, when we were all talking on the phone before this, we were talking a lot about this idea of systems and how we all interact in different systems every day. And the immigration quote unquote system is a very complicated and bureaucratic one. But it's also it's also a very human one. And so we're going to touch on a little bit of that throughout this conversation. So tell me a little bit about how your work as an artist, in your opinion, does it reflect your personal life, your personal experiences in some way? Do you see your life experiences as a DACA recipient in any of your work? You can lift that right up.
Okay. Sorry, the last song was like so emotional for me. I just was like crying. I'm a Brazilian immigrant. I was in DACA from 2014 till 2018. I was undocumented from around 2001 until I got my DACA. And as someone who's lost grandparents while they were undocumented and unable to leave the country, that last song really kind of hit me. I was crying and stuff. But in terms of how that experience has impacted my work, it has. I think you'll see a slide at some point of my work, but one of the series I worked on was called DACA, and it's about my experience with the DACA program. I started kind of making work with through glitch art and through. Sorry, I'm not really good with this mic. Through glitch art and through what I call post photography, around 2011, and I didn't quite address my undocumentedness up until 2017, when the news came out that the Trump administration was planning to cut the DACA program. During that time, I've been wanting to kind of find ways to kind of how do you express undocumentedness using the kind of visual language of glitch and using kind of what I was given. There is a lot of work about immigrant stories, about immigrant lives, and I wanted to do something that would be very like personal, but that would also reach out to people who are also all kinds of immigrants, people who aren't immigrants, people who've traveled, who've journeyed. And I came up on this idea to look at the documents that you get, because as an immigrant, the media that you receive as an immigrant is the site of power that controls your life. This is the site where your personhood is decided, where it's distorted, and where it's acted upon by the authority of the U.S. government or any government. And so I went with the immigration media that I came across during the DACA program, which included, here's my work authorization card. There is the letter I got when I was approved for DACA. The previous ones were also kind of letters that I got from the government upon approval or during the process of applying. These were all kind of created with a scanner. So I pretty much like placed the documents on a scanner bed and moved them along. It's a pretty long, painstaking process because you never really know what you're going to get when you're doing that. But these are some of the final ones. And I think part of the idea behind it was to kind of take an aesthetic that is very authoritarian, that is very focused on security. Like if you look at the details of the documents, you see there's so much details, which is kind of created as an anti-counterfeiting, anti-forgery measure. But then there's also a lot of documents that are very dry. Like it's, you just have text, you just have basic text. And so it was kind of taking this idea of security, this idea of the bureaucratic, and kind of trying to turning it into something that is more abstract, that's more expressionistic. Like I like the idea of turning these, whether it's just like a black bar, trying to make it look like a river, like a body of water. I think for a lot of immigrants who do have to cross bodies of waters to get to port of entry, I found that striking, the resemblance.
It's something you mentioned just struck me as really interesting. The process of making your art, you said, can be sort of really, I don't know the word you used, but a long process that you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yes.
Do you see parallels to?
Oh yeah, it is, and that's it comes
your
again.
immigration status process, right? I mean,
Absolutely. A lot of my work is focused on glitch art and post photography, and just to give kind of a rundown on what that all means. At least my theory of post photography is that over the past generation, what we consider photography has just like completely been revolutionized. And the biggest example of that is the fact that we all have really fancy cameras on our smartphones, right, that we use all the time. Every one of us is a photographer. Every one of us now is even a retoucher because we have those Facetune apps that make us look prettier. And and to some degree, photography is more than just like, taking a picture of something. It's part of our language. It's how we communicate with each other. And as part of that, it's also part of how we communicate within systems and how systems communicate with each other. So like the photos you take on your phone, they get uploaded to Facebook. Facebook has all sorts of machine algorithms. And this is another interesting thing. You have computers and machines reading photographs, not just people. And you may even have more machines than people reading photographs at this point in time. But you upload a photograph to Facebook, it gets fed into all these systems, right? They could be surveillance systems, they're marketing systems, there are even systems on your phone, like the way you save a photograph is compressed in a certain format. When you send it to Facebook, it gets recompressed, it gets resent, it gets reconfigured. There's so many kind of nodes of interaction within photography now. And this is even extends beyond the idea of just like us taking pictures. There are all sorts of kinds of capture. You're capturing data on like biometric data or like mapping data, and you could really kind of, it's like, there's so much I can touch upon, and I don't want to just like give you a big list of what counts as post photography nowadays, but it's kind of like this opening of imaging into like every realm of the world, from like taking pictures inside a video game to what drones see, Yeah. And so because we have these very interconnected and overlapping systems, I was very interested in glitch art because a glitch is an error within a digital system, right? Or a malfunction, or a way of misusing, software or a format or some aspect of a digital system. And in a way, like as a glitch artist, what you're doing is you're either finding these mistakes, these errors, these malfunctions, and recording them, or you're inducing them inside systems, or you're misusing systems to create unexpected outcomes. And this was very much interesting to me as an undocumented immigrant, as a DACA recipient, because living as that, you realize that you live within systems that are designed to malfunction. And the U.S. immigration system currently, as it is now, is a system designed to malfunction, because undocumented people don't exist like in and of themselves. They're rendered undocumented by the immigration system. Yeah, I think that kind of that's a pretty succinct.
That's a brilliant transition for me. So I'm going to take that right now and think about all of your questions that you might have for Sabado and share them on Slido. But that really segues nicely into Sabrina's work, which is you live in these systems in your work at Harvard's Immigrant and Refugee Clinic, helping asylees navigate what we do know is an imperfect at best system. Can you kind of sum up for us, like transition a little bit from the system itself and sum up for us what you've learned about the people who come to your clinic, whose cases you take up, who are applying for asylum and refugee status? Who are they? What stands out about them to you?
So I think the thing that I've learned from working in the clinic is just how different each and every client I have is, and how different each case is. And I think the public discourse and narratives that are out there try to lump people together and often try to vilify people or draw generalizations and stereotypes. And all of my clients are incredibly different, right? My family got asylum here in the U.S. From Iran after the revolution. My clients include, a 16-year-old who fled Central America when her family was killed, a woman from a country in Africa who escaped an abusive husband, a political dissident from a country in the Middle East. So, they come in all shapes and sizes and forms, and their stories are all really unique and as different as anyone can imagine. I think the thing that stands out most to me in working with them in these really imperfect systems is just how difficult the process of seeking asylum in the U.S. is, and how no one that I've worked with comes to that process lightly. If the people I worked with had any other choice, they wouldn't leave their home countries, they wouldn't leave their families, their lives behind. The challenge is when they get here, the system and the way it's constructed doesn't recognize the trauma that they've been through. It doesn't acknowledge the fact that it may be hard for them to recount the horrific experiences they've suffered, that they may not be able to open up when they first come here. And because of that, a lot of people's claims get denied because they aren't able to tell their stories because they're too scared. And our immigration system allows for a lawyer, but it's at your own expense. And many, many people can't afford a lawyer, and representation makes all the difference in outcomes. The statistics are incredible about that. And so, I think one of the things that stands out most to me is how part of our law is to provide protection to people who fear return to a country where they would face persecution or torture, and yet how hard it is for people to get the protection that they have a right to under our laws.
And Sabi, we were just reporting today on the fact that we just learned that Boston asylum officers who are working out of the Boston area office are being diverted down to the border to help address the influx of folks who are waiting for asylum at the southern border. How do you envision that having an impact on your clients here in Boston who, maybe have open asylum cases right now?
People have been waiting years and years for their cases to be heard. I have clients who filed for asylum probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point who haven't yet had a chance to have an interview with an asylum officer. So waiting in limbo, and the stress and anxiety and the toll that takes is really incredible.
Can they work? Can they? What's their sort of official status while they're waiting for that interview?
So it depends. Some folks are able to get work authorization. Some folks, because of various procedural hurdles, may not be able to. And so it's a real struggle. And I think what stands out most to me is, despite that struggle and despite everything folks have been through and fear, how resilient they are, even in light of that, and how strong they are. And I think that's what keeps me going, despite all the bad news.
Right. We heard a lot of that, I think, a lot of that resilience shared and portrayed tonight on the stage. Denzel, I want to talk a little bit with you about your role at the Immigrant Learning Center in terms of sort of, you work at this really important intersection of public opinion and policy and research. And that strikes me as a super powerful nexus of, it's just like a really big job.
Vortex.
It's a really big job, yeah. So I wonder, what's your overarching goal? What do you stay focused on from the day to day? What do you see as the biggest challenges or the biggest influences to your work and to the public discourse right now?
So, at some point in November of 2016, I had to sort of step back and rethink things. Somehow we got something wrong, I guess. And when I say we, I mean Americans, I mean people. And I had to figure out what that was. My name is Denzel. I'm from the Immigrant Learning Center. I direct their Public Education Institute, which means my job is to educate Americans about immigration and to change the conversation about immigration. I have a team of 2 other people, so 3 of us. Yeah, we're doing it from Malden.
Small but mighty, I'm sure.
Yes. When we started out, we're a free ESOL program. We have free English classes for 900 people a year. We've been doing that for 27 years. After 9/11, though, something changed. Attendance in our classes fell by 50%. Students were afraid to come to school because people were yelling things at them in the street. Go back to where you came from, you look like a terrorist, we don't want you here, go back to your country. Malden, of course, was, after the Boston Marathon bombing, a woman was taking her child to daycare and a man punched her in the shoulder because she was wearing a hijab. And her 3-year-old son had to witness that. We decided, let's look at the facts and let's see what they are, and let's get that information out to the public. So we began doing research. And lo and behold, what did we find? Oh my God, immigration is good for America. And maybe that's America's secret sauce because it's not a recent phenomenon. Immigration has always been good to America. I spoke to a guy who has a $1 million business in Cambridge in life science. And even he, well-to-do guy, educated at Harvard from Germany, said, it's never the aristocrats who leave their country to come to America. It's always the people with their backs to the wall. It's always people who are desperate. So even now, people who are saying, oh, well, my ancestors came here legally, they're the ones that America wanted. No, it was people who were starving in Ireland. It's people who were being persecuted. It's people who suffered natural disaster. Yet those same people built up what we consider to be the greatest country and the greatest economy in the world today. The facts spoke for themselves, and let me say it, be abundantly clear. Immigration is good for America. Immigrants are good for America. I spoke to someone from Sioux Falls in South Dakota who said the best kept secret in Sioux Falls is that we finally have a Chinese restaurant. Think about that. You have children growing up right here in Brookline who have the world at their feet. Anything that they could possibly want is right on their street, and it's because of immigration. Getting the facts to the people, to have a more fact-based discourse, to have a more fact-based policy making, that is what we had to rethink after 2016. Somehow we had to step back and look at, well, what was the main lesson here? And one of the main things for me was that we weren't reaching the other side. We are so very much siloed that we cannot see each other, we cannot hear each other, we cannot understand each other. So how do we connect with other people who have such strong, some may say abhorrent views about immigrants? How do we connect with them on a level that they can understand us and reach us? So that's when we started to work on the immigration narrative itself. What words we use, how do we tap into people's values and into something positive in their brains? One of the interesting things we found was that anti-immigrant sentiment is far stronger and more passionate than pro-immigrant sentiment. So those people who are there at the rallies with their signs, who are yelling things about immigrants, they feel a lot more stronger than many of us in this room. That is a huge thing that we have to overcome. The fact that we've been fed these messages of immigrants take jobs, immigrants bring crime, immigrants are bad for us somehow, immigrants don't want to assimilate. We've been hearing those messages over and over again throughout our lifetimes. How do we overcome that, before the next election? So it was about reframing the immigration narrative as something that is quintessentially American, something that is based on human values and human dignity, that everyone deserves a shot, that this is America. We don't have, public floggings and things like that. We do things a particular way in this country, where everyone deserves a chance. We think about immigrants and we think about co-workers and friends and, people we know at school, people who we play soccer with, our neighbors next door. Another interesting thing that we learned was that Americans don't extrapolate their empathy from one person to a whole group. So they may think Jose, their gardener, is a good Christian man, a good family man, but the rest of the Guatemalans, no, they need to go. So how do you tap into those feelings beyond this bubble of Boston, across the country, in a way that really resonates?
That's really fascinating and made me think of those little spoonfuls of hate that we heard about in that song, right? Sort of how do you mitigate those, right? So I want to toss out a few questions to all of you, and then we'll get to some audience questions. I'm curious, you touched upon this, Denzel, about sort of the dichotomy, the really strong, sort of really entrenched ends of the system here, right? It's really hard to find a middle ground. But what's lost as a nation, within our communities, as neighbors, when we become entrenched in the politics of immigration, when we sort of buy into the rhetoric? What are we losing out on? I throw that out to all of you. Any thoughts? What about culturally, artistically? I mean, conversationally, like what's lost in that with?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is community. I think the current politics is very much focused on this idea. It's like a politics of scarcity and a politics of lack. Like there's a scarcity of jobs, there's a scarcity of, I guess, security, because if immigrants are bringing crime, then there's obviously not enough security around to go around for everyone. And all these are just myths, because the United States is the biggest economy in the world. It is the richest country in the world. But we do have is like a huge income inequality gap. And to me, it seems that this kind of politics, this idea that all these things are lacking, and that the fault of this lack is the kind of like the other, that is a stranger that may speak a different language, or has a darker skin color, or comes from a different place. Buying into that rhetoric ultimately like corrodes your own sense of community, because even as just as people, as working people, our greatest strength is our solidarity with one another. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's lost. We all have more in common by virtue of just, the fact that we work, that we have families, that we care about, our families and our friends, and that, we want everyone to kind of be safe and healthy and have access to, all the good things this country has to offer. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add to that one? Sabrina?
I think I completely agree, and I think part of the challenge is that the politics of immigration it's become all about numbers and these stereotypes and buzzwords that just totally strip people of their humanity. And I do think that shared humanity and what we all gain from getting to know each other and being curious about each other and connecting with each other, you just can't put a price tag on. You can't reduce to a number, and it destroys our communities when we're not given an opportunity to connect in that way. So,
did you want to add something, Denzel?
We lose our exceptionalism. Why is Boston such a fabulous place? Because it brought all these people from all around the world to innovate and create robots and life-saving drugs. And that is what, again, has always been America's edge, was that it was a place where these inherently entrepreneurial people who cross a desert or a river or a sea, not knowing what was on the other side except a hope and a dream, and somehow made it happen so that their grandchildren could graduate from college and have good-paying jobs. We lose our exceptionalism when we fade into that milieu of, no, let's just be us like everyone else. We forget what made us special in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's an inherently American thing.
Right. One other thing for the group, what's missing from the conversation? Sort of our current, whether it's, the media's coverage, whether it's, congressional sort of, visits to the border and people standing up and saying this is, I'm appalled at this, but then what happens when you get back to Washington, D.C.? Like, what's missing from, based on your own individual experiences, do you think is missing in terms of, how we view or talk about immigration policy and research, and what should we be talking about? Sabrina, I feel like I want to ask you to jump in on that first of all.
I think what's missing is a basic understanding of how our immigration system works. In the context of asylum, the fact that there is a right to seek asylum, that it's not a loophole, that it's part of our law and our obligations to people. I think that what's missing is an understanding of the complexities that you were talking about, that these aren't sort of black and white issues are easy to understand. And I think part of the challenge is in today's world, the conversation's all sound bites. It's all, whoever's voice is loudest gets the most attention. And so, how do you convey just how complex the system is and create a real understanding of what it is so that, policy decisions can be made in an informed way? I think that's what I think is really missing.
Either of you guys want to add anything to that before we jump to some audience questions?
I can add some.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
I totally agree. That's a big thing because from my experience, most Americans, just talking about being undocumented, they have no idea how the system works. And most of the times they've never even immigrated to another country, or a lot haven't even traveled to another country. So they never have the experience of like, what is it like? You have to ask for a visa to go somewhere. You have to ask for permission. They're totally unaware of the system. From the point of view of as an immigrant, I think what I would love to see more of is just a discourse of immigration, of what's going on with immigration today as a civil rights issue. Because right now, just you hearing all the rhetoric, it's very much saying that they're immigrants and then they're Americans. But the reality is immigrants are Americans. Immigrants aren't tourists. They're Americans. They're here. They live here. We live here. We're just as American than anyone else. And the fact that, depending on your status, like you don't have a right to counsel compared to other Americans, you don't have the same kind of access to, to driver's license or to, college or schooling, or healthcare. These are all civil rights issues. And I wish I would see the discussion being framed more as immigrants, we deserve our civil rights just like any other American. Yeah.
Denzel?
Might I just say that researchers found that Americans don't like it when people talk about immigrants and rights?
Probably not, but I do.
Even though it is such an issue, I think part of the problem is that complexity of immigration. The average American does not know anything about immigration. They think it's a line. They don't know that Mexicans have to wait 20 years to get a green card, and Filipinos. They don't know anything about asylum. So when sound bites from people in power, fully knowing that what they're saying is wrong, but because it's easy to remember, the myths and the misinformation is much easier to remember than the facts and the truth. Facts are missing from the debate. So somehow I think we have to keep pushing facts over and over again, not engage in myth busting. Forget that. You just state the facts. And it has to start from the ground up, not from the other way. It has to be local action of families and people and companies and community centers and city councils and law enforcement becoming aware of these issues, of recognizing humanity in the other, of engaging in some very uncomfortable discussions about race and its relation to immigration and how that is changing and building America.
Yeah. Really a simple place to start, I think we can all. But it's important, and it's something that I think because it feels so heavy sometimes, and we hear about it every day, and all of us on the stage live in that world in one way or another, and it can be kind of tiring, but I think it's really important to keep bringing the facts up to the surface, right? And you all are here, and that's fantastic. So we're going to get to some questions. So just from the top down, this is for any of you. What do you say to the older generations of people who are immigrants themselves or come from an immigrant lineage, who are now the naysayers of immigration? Denzel, what's your brilliant message to them from your Public Education Institute?
Well, it's not to tell them that, oh, your grandparents, blah, 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 blah. People get very defensive about those things. It's reminding them that this was a place for opportunity for their ancestors, and similarly, it's an opportunity for other people now. It's hard because they see a person of a different color with a different accent and a different language, and they all conglomerate in Chinatown or in Little whatever. Hell, we have a North End. But reminding them that sometimes it takes a generation. The achievement of the children of immigrants from particular countries like Mexico or Guatemala is far greater than what their parents achieved. So they achieved the American dream in one generation, and these things happen. But a place where opportunity is granted to all who want it.
So remind people that at one point in their lineage, someone was given an opportunity, and look how it ended up for them. Next, and maybe this might be something for you, Sabrina, but how can we get more low-income immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, lawyers? Because as you mentioned, representation really matters in these cases. What is it, like 80% of the people who actually manage to get representation have positive outcomes for their cases? So are there sort of systemic changes, and then are there short-term changes? And yes, I guarantee you pro bono lawyers are exhausted right now.
So, I think there are a few ways, right? There's various funds that have been created in the wake of the election to expand representation for immigrants here in Boston and in Cambridge. There are legal defense funds that have been set up to try to ensure that everybody who's in immigration proceedings has an attorney, so folks can donate to those funds. If folks are lawyers, they can volunteer or they can take on cases pro bono. I think we've seen tremendous outpouring of support from lawyers from all across different professions who've taken on cases in the wake of the election, and really great nonprofits have been set up to mentor and train lawyers who aren't trained in immigration law to take on these cases. But pushing for more funding for legal services organizations that represent immigrants is definitely a very important piece.
Yeah. I find this one really, really interesting and a good thought. Is there some benefit of understanding our origins and the many violations of treaties against the people who were here, Native Americans, as context to sort of this? I mean, we say, we're a country of immigrants, but there was a country, there were lives being lived here before any immigrant stepped foot here, right? So I wonder, any of you want to touch upon this, if you think that could be a shared conversation to have. Any thoughts?
I totally agree with that. Especially in terms of like the history with Native Americans and indigenous peoples here, as well as the history of slavery, which is also like a kind of forced migration. I think it's healthy. Like even just, I'm going to speak from my own personal experience, as an immigrant. I think once I was, older, I kind of like matched the dates of Brazilian history with when my parents came here with me as a baby, and I realized that my dad was probably fleeing democratization in Brazil because he was a fascist. So I think it's important to see that, because like it's not a question of guilt or innocence. I think it is like none of us can escape history, and the blood spilled throughout the ages, like we're still reaping it, and the best we can do is confront it. No matter who we are, where we come from, I think it's important.
You guys want to chime in on that one, either of you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's really critical not to erase that history, and often when we're talking about immigration, we don't talk about that, and it's an important part of the dialogue and understanding of, you know, what happened when people first started coming to the U.S., and that history is something we have to grapple with.
Well, we have to, but maybe outside of Boston, that's a very difficult conversation to have.
I mean, even in Boston, let's be honest. I mean, we're not exceptional, to use your word. I mean, there's a progressive sort of undertone here, but there are definitely policies and challenges on the books, right? That challenge our sort of sense of idealism, I think. But
The New
I
York
take your
Times
point.
has just come out with a series called 1619, and the backlash to that from certain news networks and certain former speakers of the House has been tremendous about rewriting history and challenging all these this historical context to what helped build America. So those are really difficult conversations to have. But it is important to understand current immigration through a historical context.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start with students and children
Yeah.
doing that in schools.
Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. What laws, this is sort of like an action item, right? A take home. Like, what can people do? What laws should Congress change or repeal to improve the future for immigrants? Sabrina, I'm curious if you have one, if you could, I just saw your eyes light up. Like, I don't even know where to start, but what, if we haven't had comprehensive immigration reform in this country since 1996. So it's a long time coming. If you could pick one thing to advocate for, one thing to call your congressperson up and say, hey, you know, put a little bug in their ear, what do you think that is? Or two, or...
I mean, I do think we need comprehensive immigration reform. There is no pathway for, you know, the millions of undocumented people who are here in the U.S., who are part of the fabric of our society, who are our community, you know, we really need to create new paths to residency and citizenship that recognize the basic rights that you were talking about, that everybody who lives here deserves. So it's hard for me to pick one.
Okay, that's all right.
I punted.
Just make the calls, I guess, is the point. I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight at City Space. I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank the amazing, very talented and passionate performers and the artists behind the work. And, you know, stay tuned. Listen to WBUR. Sure. Please.
Why can't the immigrants all just strike for a week? Why, I don't understand why that wouldn't make an impact. Everybody just stopped. I understand fear. I understand. I guess that's directed to you, Denzel. If all of the immigrants that run this country, to your point of how important immigrants are here, is there no way to have everybody just to grab onto their fear and just not go to work for a couple of days, so that I can just get rid of this thought in my mind?
So
I also want to make money, just make more money, but
there was a study done in California about if immigrants were not to show up at work for a week, how much the economy would suffer. Unfortunately, immigrants also have to pay bills.
right, I understand.
And they're also, in this climate, they're extremely fearful of all sorts of things. Raids in Mississippi can happen anywhere. They could go to a court to get a restraining order against a violent spouse and get picked up by ICE in plain clothes. It's happening all over right now. So whereas they would probably love to relish that opportunity, they simply economically and for their own safety can't.
Yeah.
Do you think it would make a difference?
I think it'll make a hell of a difference.
The children and grandchildren of immigrants could do it.
It's not a bad thought. It's not a bad thought. let's keep the conversation going, but not right now because some people have to actually work a little bit after this show and put this to bed. But I really want to thank everyone for being here. I think maybe you can catch our panelists for maybe one or two offstage questions. But thank you all. Have a great evening. We hope to see you back again here soon.